right, let's talk about visualization here today. I've got two harmonicas in front of me. I've got a D harmonica, just in case I forget to mention this. A D harmonica, Richter tuned, and an A minor pentaharp. But really, I'm here not to talk about really specifically harmonicas, comparing the penta or the diatonic. I want to talk about visualization, but I'm going to use the harmonicas and teach you a little something. Maybe some of you already play this or know this, but I'm using this to demonstrate the power of visualization and patterns and recognizing those in your playing so that you can take advantage of that for one benefit, which is instant recall. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take a minute and share a couple ideas with you. I might give folks a second to jump in here. But good morning to you. Today is, what is it, 16th? Yeah, Saturday the 16th. This topic, if you enjoy some of what I'm going to share with you, check out the class coming October 24th titled Visualization Techniques. And it's all going to be all about developing your ability to create a mental model of your instrument and the way you move around and play music. And it's really kind of complex to think about it, and maybe the development of it is much easier. So something to think about. Let's get into the topic here, though. And if you have a D harmonica, grab your D harmonica, and let's do this together. Okay, here we go. Here's a whiteboard. If you have a D harmonica, Richter tune just means your standard 10-hole harmonica. Then, yeah, you'll see that I've just got a standard one chord outline for 12-bar blues 4 and 5. We call this idea I'm sharing the box pattern. It's kind of a shuffle groove thing that happens on the harmonica. On a D harmonica, it would sound something like this. There are variations of a box pattern. I don't always play it the same way. This one happens to be more of an ascending style, or we could call it reverse Lindaloo. Lindaloo would actually go 2 draw, 6 blow, 5 draw, 4 draw, and it sounds really nice. But the reverse Lindaloo is a slightly more common one that I've heard over the years. So this is a nice kind of baseline to learn and bring into your playing. Again, we're just talking standard tuning. And somebody said to me the other day, I was doing a post about the pentaharp, and they said, why would you want to play any of this on the pentaharp? I can do it all on the Richter tune. This is just to show you, to help you identify where the notes are, for one. It's like using a point of reference. But really, I would tell you that it's, when you're thinking about what is great to play on the pentaharp, what does it work well for? No, I may not be doing this. But there are some folks that cannot play, for example, a 3/2 step bend. But they don't have to do any of that. This has a built-in blues scale, so they could come down here and play it. Let me show you on the pentaharp. All right, so you see that you don't need any of these, the bend that's located right there, that minor third, that half step bend on the 3. But when you learn this box pattern on your pentaharp, if you happen to buy one, it's a cool way to just start to identify where are these notes. All right, you could just play blow draw all the way up too. So that's the box pattern, and this is a way to segue and talk about visualization in your music. It's difficult to talk about, actually. I think it's really a challenging a topic. If you want to just come back to this video and take notes off this, that's my suggestion to you. Just come back and write it out. It'd be good for you to write it out, That way you can really see what's going on. So visualization, this is something I did from the very early days of my playing. When I first started playing, it just came naturally to me to think about what these lines and riffs and phrases might look like, what patterns they were creating when I closed my eyes. And I started doing it more as a listening tool than it was for creating or sharpening my own playing or whatever, enhancing my own playing. I used it more for listening and interpreting what other musicians were playing. So it was easier if I heard a harmonica and I heard somebody go, I just simply try to see that sound. Where would that fall visually on the harmonica? It sounds like a four draw, so I see it right below the halfway point of the harmonica in my mind. It sounds like a draw note, so those go below. And I started to create these little patterns. And after a while, I realized that I could get really detailed with how I saw these in my mind, and that would really give my mind's eye, or however you might want to say it, a way to tighten up my own technique and my own approaches and to playing. And it really did. It just didn't occur to me that that's what was happening over the years. Now, I've never really fully taught a class on just visualization, but this idea of thinking about your music in your mind is powerful. It's super powerful, and maybe I'll just quickly mention a few bullet points of why I think it's so important. Breathing's not as obvious of a sort of benefit or area you could focus on, but your breathing is simply put something we want to regulate. We want it to be relaxed. It's just going in, out, but it does have a lot of patterns. There are ways to think about visualizing breathing patterns. I don't think I do this, so if I'm just being honest, I don't. The only breathing thing that I visualize is just a long note. I do have like this way to visualize holding a note for a long time by seeing it move through me. Inhale goes behind me and out my whole body and just kind of extends, and breathing out would be the opposite direction. You can work on this. I'm going to teach a little bit in this class on Sunday the 24th. And talk to you how I'm using it in rhythm patterns, get into the different ways I might see it in my mind. So part of it could just be movement, like lines, and what pattern is it creating. That's an obvious one, perhaps. But also there's other strategies like that I'll point out with this rhythm playing, for example, where you can just see flashes associated with rhythm to keep yourself in check and on time. Having the model of the harmonica is crucial. Lee Sankey's done some talking about this and written about this in an article called, I don't know if it's an article, but it's called Brainstrument. I think it's singular. And it's fascinating because the main thing was that he was talking about high level playing requires this sort of mental model of our instrument, and again intertwining maybe how we see our own music fitting and moving through that instrument. It only makes sense. We're playing this thing we can't see, and I think that's why I close my eyes. I'm trying to block out the distractions, but I'm also trying to see the imagery. All right, so that could be an area to explore, is how you've developed your mental model, and think about like just how you see it. You might see it very sort of literal, like like looking at an actual harmonica. If you imagine for a minute, just you're staring at the front comb of a harmonica and you see the 10 holes. That might be enough, so that then you can place the stuff you're playing around it. That's what I want to get into in the class, is literally play examples of like, here's a phrase, here's how I'm seeing it. And it's going to be an interesting class to see where this goes. Other areas to think about: accuracy. If your technique is a little loose and sloppy, or you're not able to land on notes consistently and accurately, the note that you heard and the note that you were going for. I use it with dynamic range. I use it with general pattern recognition of ideas and intervals, the distance, musical distance between notes. I see those jumps in my mind. I mentioned it, but technique can really be tightened up, and that's one that's going to be fun to explore, because you might be thinking, how can you tighten technique? Isn't technique a lot of it just practice and muscle memory? Yes, I'm going to hopefully tie the pieces together of visualization, how it works together with muscle memory, because they absolutely work together. If you were less aware of what you were doing to create a certain technique, you might learn it improperly, and it just is the way it is forever. But if you hear the sound correctly in your mind and you start to visualize, even physically, like tongue position, we'll just talk on a different visualization level here for a minute, but just start to really think about what is my tongue, what might it look like, and how can I recall that movement so that it's the same every time. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Um, Dynamic range, that's a big one that I'm actually more and more in tune with in my own playing, how I can use shading. I'll talk about that for dynamic range in my mind. And these things, all these things I'm talking about, create awareness so that in the moment while I'm just creating, and like if it's improvisation in that context, I can adjust. Let me give you one example. Let me just be concrete here. If I see an example, I like right now I can hear a riff and I can see it instantly because I've already done this practice with this riff. Let me play the riff. And it's so easy to get to it and repeat it because I can hear the idea. But more importantly, almost than like hearing it, is I see the pattern and I play the pattern. That's it. I play the pattern in my mind. I don't have to think notes, holes, or I'm not thinking B flat, or I'm thinking holes for the starting point for sure and where I'm going, but the pattern is what lays out. So the riff was 6 blow, 6 draw, 7 draw, 8 draw, 8 blow. And I could draw that for you. It would look more like a stick figure, but like I could draw that and show you why that's so easy for me to trace. And then if I want to add elements to that, I can further extend that by changing the way that phrase looks in my mind, and I can add nuance to that. All right. Tablature is an area to think about. I'm just laying these out loosely for you today to think about, but like stepping again outside of the conversation of visualizing things that we cannot tangibly hold or see, like the notes we're playing. Just thinking about your tablature. If you're writing out your harmonica riffs, you're writing notes out, what does it look like? Do you use a highlighter? Do you color code certain things or not? I don't see in color, by the way, or I don't see color when I play. Synesthesia is what that's referred to. It's not what I'm talking about here. This is a little different. So to repeat some of these things I'm talking about, the big ones are like recall is the biggest. And being able to just have a framework to work with when you have a complex idea that you want to be able to recreate perfectly each and every time. It's not just practice and muscle memory for me. It's this process of watching the music move and seeing the pattern that it creates. And that's going to be an interesting challenge for me come October 24th to lay it all out to the group with some examples and ways to work on this approach. But I really believe in it. I think it's a powerful method for learning and developing your own playing into higher levels. So don't knock it till you try it. But I'm wondering if there's other people out there that they use it. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. Is this something you've engaged in? How do you do it? And feel free to throw a tip or two in the comment section. But I can tell you that I think the one thing that might come to mind for people is, well, won't this be a distraction? I'm trying to make music and then you got me seeing all this stuff. No, it's quite the opposite. One of the other greatest benefits is that it actually clears all the clutter and thought and what should I play, where should I go, and I just start to see ideas. This is one of the most exciting parts about working on it over the years, is when you get to the point where it's almost like watching a map light up with like fireworks or something, and that firework might be a warble on 7/8 draw, that it's just where you saw that light pop in your mind of the mental model, and you just go there and do it. So you start trusting the instincts coming from these visual representations. The audio is a huge part too, getting the sound in your head for sure. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just trying to talk about it from this angle. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I think it will be interesting, and I hope that some of you will take me up on this class, because I just feel like it's an under-discussed topic that you're not going to get out there from many teachers. I do know that other people use it, though, many other players. And if you look up Lee Sankey's Brainstrument, or Brainstruments, perhaps, you'll find a PDF that you can download to read. It's a short read, but it's a very interesting read, and some of it is filled with interviews of high-level harmonica players to see how they're doing this and how they're engaging in it. You might get some ideas from that. But in my class, what I'm going to do is share my approaches and how I think about it, and I'm going to try to keep it, simple, so that you can follow me along at any level. If you're thinking, is this okay for a beginner? I think so. I did it from the very beginning. I mean, I could just picture it. I'm sitting in some of these bars in Austin, waiting for my turn to get up and play at the Blues Jam. I was so nervous, but I would close my eyes and watch their playing. They'd be hitting that 4 or 5 draw warble, and I would see it illuminate a little below the halfway point, and I started to tighten these images up, and that's why I'm now at the point where I want to share this with people, because I think I've got a pretty sophisticated way to work with it. Not even sophisticated, but like multi-dimensional way to think about it and work on it. All right? Yeah, Brian, that's interesting. I pay close attention to what it feels like to play a piece, physically, not emotionally. Cool. I'm sure there's a million ways to tie in. For me, when I don't have to think, though, I know that, and this is probably for the majority of people, when I don't have to think about what I'm going to play, and I can hear it, and I see these patterns. And it's not even like I'm trying to see it; they just emerge now. Let me give you one other example. When I improvise, and I think this is common, so I'm not trying to say I'm special or anything like that. I think at a certain point, most people would agree. I'm creating in the moment by pure definition of the term improvisation. You're creating in the moment. And yes, some stock muscle memory riffs, things come out, but I'm seeing the construction of the patterns I'm describing being built before me sometimes, and other times I'm seeing the full pattern, which is the phrase, like that idea I played you. It looks ridiculous, this Band-Aid. I cut my finger just before I got on here. I think it's okay now. And if you're wondering what this bump is, this is my callus. Little moment of ADD here. That's where the harmonica sits. So I have this giant callus on my thumb. Sometimes it's the complete phrase, and I just play what I see. But other times, like if I'm just holding a note and I'm about to move somewhere, I see the areas and those patterns emerge now as I do it, and it tightens up my playing. So that's what it's all about. Cool. That's what I wanted to communicate today. If you want to support me by buying harmonicas, or if you want to buy harmonicas and support me at the same time, I have an affiliate link. I've been placing it in more of my videos lately, and it's just simply a link that takes you to an affiliate page where you can then select Sweetwater or Guitar Center to purchase the harmonica or accessory from. So you can, if you're going to buy some stuff anyway and you want to support me, check that link out. It would help. Every little bit adds up. Cheers from Uruguay. Pablo. ¿Cómo te va? So yeah, what else is going on? What can I tell you? By the way, the coolest thing about like harmonicas is that once you find a tuning, assuming you're looking at one tuning, like a Richter tuned standard harmonica, all the patterns are the same. The notes change, right? And you're playing in a different key, but it's all the same. The patterns don't have to be adjusted for. If you're playing third position, whether it's a G or B flat or whatever, those third position patterns don't change key to key, which it seems obvious to say, but I don't think everybody realizes that. Michael, if you take this class, you'll have way too many questions. Throw a question out right now. I'm not going to be online too long today, but I mean, I'm an open book here. Let's talk about the hoodie. Somebody said, can we support you by buying the hoodie? I have some new Honer shirts, and somebody's like, well, where do I buy this stuff? And I looked into it, and it turns out you can't buy it. They don't have a store. They do not sell it. These were just made in-house for... well, actually, no. This sweatshirt, they did have an online store, and for a short period, about 7 years back or so, they sold them, and they sold quickly, and they didn't restock. So this is not something you can buy. I'm sorry. The shirts, there's nothing available currently. I just checked into it recently, so yeah, can't buy the hoodie or the shirt. Sorry, and buy the harmonicas and cases. And if you see something on that affiliate page and you're like, man, I would support you, but you don't have this particular Honer product on there, I can put it on. Oh, wow. Interesting question. How do you approach eating before playing and avoiding burps? Well, sometimes it comes down to what you're eating to avoid burps, I think. Seriously, because some foods are going to be create more of that gas inside of you. I try not to eat right before I play, but I'm not opposed to having a meal before I play. I just would prefer to brush my teeth and clean out my mouth after the meal before I play. And try to give yourself like an hour or so buffer. That would help because it's all about the expansion of the diaphragm. And if you like fill up and you have a filling meal and then you go up to play, your diaphragm it cannot work as efficiently. So I would just say eat light on the days you're going to play like for real, like have a gig or play with other people, and try not to drink like all the sugary stuff. Mixed drinks, beer, sodas, like right before you pick up your harp. If you have to, just get a glass of water or a bottle of water, and before you actually put the harp to your lips, take a sip of the water, swish it around, and you're good. It's better than nothing. So we're talking, today's topic was visualization. If you're just joining us, I outlined some ideas today, and I demonstrated the box. And so the box patterns, I didn't even mention this, but it's kind of an interesting the way that it moves. You start to just, if you'll have a moment without me giving you too much information on how you should do it right now, but you join me for the class, I think that it could be an interesting experiment to see what you come up with for various techniques, the way you visualize the technique, various phrases, and then join me in the class and see how that compares to what I share and what you can learn from that, because I can't just sit here and it would take like a full class, right? Like hour and a half to 2 hours to go through it all. And today was just sort of to give you something to nibble on. But I'll tell you what, here's one quick tip on the topic. If you haven't memorized all your repeating notes, I say it all the time, just go through and play all of your repeating notes on the harmonica and try to close your eyes when you do it, really seeing where you are spatially, how that might look. You'd be amazed if you have something to aim for in your mind, how that might tighten up your accuracy. Just try that. 2 draw, 3 blow, 6 blow, 9 blow. Thanks, Hank. We were just talking about this sweatshirt. You should have one, but they're gone at this point. They're gone. Hank, do you ever think about this stuff? You ever think about visualization in your own playing? Or do you ever notice that you're like kind of seeing any patterns or things happening? You don't have to go into detail. I'm just curious if you have any experience with that yourself. And if you guys don't know Hank, be sure to click on his name and go to his profile page, his YouTube page, and subscribe. Hank is one of the best players out there, I think. You're a killer player, man. He knows that. He's got a lot to share. He says all the time. So this is nothing new to. I think when you get to a certain point in your playing, and by the way, this goes for, I would say, every instrument. I mean, I know I've talked to other people that do this as well. But what's really cool that I can't wait to teach and share about the topic is that when you're doing really quick, intricate stuff, there's a way to see it. I can describe that to you. You know, if I play something like how can you visualize sometimes all these movements? And it's no different than to me, it's very much like, I think part of it I describe as like abstract art. Not with this intention of being super abstract, but like, I've always heard that the more abstract you assign something from memory, like you're trying to remember somebody's name and you have some really abstract connection that you think of, those are the ones to go with. And I think the same goes for visualization. It doesn't always have to be, well, this line connects to this point. There's a lot of in between. Should I be playing harmonica while having COVID? I've heard yes, but I can't. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. Breathing in what I've breathed into. Oh, I don't know about that. Should I just clean it after each use? Yeah, maybe clean it out if you really want to be careful. But isn't that kind of? I mean, it's you. So if you're sick, you're sick. You're just, you know what I mean? You're breathing in your own air, kind of anyway. I don't know that it matters. I don't know. I don't want to steer you wrong. I hope you feel better soon, Les. But I've heard that it's good to get the try to activate lungs if you were dealing with COVID to try to immediately, as hard as it can be sometimes for people with the breathing, to get it to try to get it to move. I struggle with tempo, so I wonder maybe. Yeah, I mentioned Michael earlier tempo and rhythm specifically. So with your timing, absolutely it can. For me, it's flashes of light, timings, various timings and rhythm changes that I can see around the notes themselves or the patterns to cue me as to, for example, like a triplet. If you were to group that in your mind, if I'm saying the word on doi dada, on a D harp, on four draw, bend to draw, like dipping the bend, doi, there's a way for me to, even with that as simple example, there's a way for me to see those two notes closer together in my mind. And just that simple reference of seeing it lay out however I could describe the way I see that, absolutely, from the dirty note to the scoop to the thing, which again I'll get into on the 24th with detail, but I could pin those notes the same way I might in my tablature just move two notes closer together to. I want people to use tablature by ear, like learn by ear, but use the tablature as a reference when needed, not to just stare at the tablature and do it like read off the tabs. But yeah, um, you know, hey, you know what, Michael? I don't think everyone has to. I don't think all great players think about it this way, the visualization topic. And I think it's very possible to make great music without it. I just know that it has tightened up so many areas of my music in my own experience. But it might be something to experiment with. If you cannot or don't want to take this class, you might have a moment where you just want to, like, all right, let me just see what I can come up with. But I'm trying to plant the seed, is what I'm trying to do. Evan says, why can't I get good tone? It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But one huge tip that I can tell you is relax and open up your body, your mouth, your neck, your chest. Like, open up and relax. That's it. Focus on just relaxing at first and trying to notice any tension points that you were unaware of before. Usually those occur in the mouth, lips, you know, sometimes all the way to the neck. They're trying so hard that your tone could be suffering. You got to make love to the harmonica. But you got to relax with it. I mean, and really think about how to, like, get your single note with in the most relaxed manner. So if you're a pucker player, that means really getting the harmonica far in, getting my lips to really go around the cover plate. Not too far, but pretty far. Cool, Michael. I'm glad I've convinced you that it's going to be a good one. If you go to harmonica123.com, you should be able to find it on the homepage, a link. But I'll put the link to the product in this video when we're done here today. Check out the box pattern if you want to learn that cool shuffle bass line of outline of a box pattern. I laid that out in the beginning of the video. I also have a full complete class on bass lines that I'll link in the video description in case you love that topic and you want to go deep into that. There's also a social media code going, a promotional code that I laid out in my last video that's going to be dead at the end of the day. Today, I think, is the last day. It's not intended to use on upcoming classes like that haven't been released, but anything else. But that class is on sale anyway right now for the next day and a half. It's a whole $2.50 off. 10% is something. Anyway, thanks for hanging out today. This is a blast. And thanks for being here. It's good to see some friends. I don't know if Hank is still here, but Hank, thanks for tuning in today. It's always exciting to see your name in the comments, man. I hope we can connect again soon. Hank and I did a really cool Global Blues Harmonica Summit together that you can check out. That was with Adam Gusso and Carlos Del Junco. That was a fun one. And Hank did a really cool session on one of his original songs. I want to say it was a third position tune. Really good stuff. Maybe a little bit of cross harp in there. All right, guys. That's what I got today. I'll be back soon. Make it a great one. Oh, thanks, Les, for that comment about the baseline course being invaluable. Appreciate you checking out that class. I tried to be very thorough with the notes on that so you can really try to do them by ear, but then go back and use on the trouble spots the tablature to decode what's going on. All right? I'll catch you down the line. I'll have another video up here most likely at some point this coming week. Make it a great rest of your weekend.